If you watch this video, then you will progress in the gym faster than I did. So after 7 years, you will look bigger than I do. That's the point. Because some of these lessons took years away from my training. Genuinely. Gym is simple. You do things with your body that you couldn't do before, and then your body reacts and makes itself bigger to get better at doing those things that you couldn't do before that you're now doing. It's literally just your body adapting to the things that you're making it do. That what he's implying is that you're faking who you are, which you're not. You're just actually growing and changing. This video is for skinny guys 14 to 20 years old, or maybe older, who are just starting at the gym or thinking about starting at the gym and aren't sure exactly what they need at this stage of their journey. This video is in two parts. So there's also the second part is for people that are 1 to 3 years into their journey at the gym, because the advice you need at the very start is different than the advice you need 1 to 3 years in. And I think that's a lot of the time what people get mixed up and confused. So I thought I'll separate the two. That way, if you're just starting, this is only what you need. And if you're 1 to 3 years in, this is what you need. This is what you need to worry about. I'm basing this around skinny guys because I was skinny when I was 15 when I started at the gym. So I feel very qualified to talk about this topic. If you have a lot of excess fat that you need to lose, I can give you advice on that, but I haven't gone through that much often in my life. So I don't feel super qualified to talk about that or to give advice on that. Now, like I mentioned, there's different advice you need at different stages in your journey. Like a company with 3 employees needs different things to grow than a company with 3,000 employees. In the same vein, if you're just starting at the gym, there's different advice that you need to take on rather than if you're 1 to 3 years into your journey at the gym. Like what probably happens is, especially these days with like TikTok and things like that, is you'll see a bunch of different advice that isn't necessarily tailored to your specific stage in your journey. Also, like every industry, there's a lot of bullshit online in the fitness space. If anyone says like this is the secret to grow, or this is the only way to grow, or this kills your gains, or that kills your gains, or whatever, they're full of shit. Like they are full of shit. And it took me years to figure that out because I thought people had more morals than that, but I guess not. Side note, I've learned that the hard way again in the like online money-making online business space. Most people there are full of shit too. So I guess everyone on the internet, like 85% of them are full of shit. And you learn over time, you develop a bullshit filter. So stage 1, this is if you're just starting or you're 0 to 1 year into your journey. Okay, because there are only a few things you really need at this stage, right? The first thing I want you to, mindset that you need to take on is that as long as you go, you'll grow. Don't overcomplicate it, okay? Don't be this guy, right? This skinny 15-year-old who just started at the gym. It's been a month. He's benching 2.5 kilos on each side, which there's nothing wrong with benching 2.5 kilos on each side. And he's talking about, fuck bro, should I take creatine yet? I'm carb loading at the moment. Like, he's talking about the 1%, the things that will give him a 1% benefit to build muscle. When at the start of your fitness journey, you're picking up weights consistently that your body has never picked up before and done before on a consistent basis. So your body goes through such a major transformation that none of that shit matters. Like the first 3 to 6 months especially. None of that creatine, like which workout you do, it doesn't matter. Your body is going to go through such a major transformation and you're going to build so much muscle at the start that it doesn't matter all these little things. And you, in my opinion, you really shouldn't take them on because you don't need them. You should save them for when you need them. So to be clear, what I'm talking about is that at the start, you will grow so much that you don't need to worry about whether or not you need to take creatine. The other thing is, you should prove to yourself that you can actually consistently go to the gym and then think about those things. Because the amount of guys I've seen who come out like this at the start and then after 2 months they've disappeared and they never go again. Don't be that guy. Like I said, nothing wrong with being weak. But you need to know what your stage of the journey is and what you actually need at that stage of the journey, which is that you just need to show up. You just need to show up and you'll gain a lot of muscle. And you might think to yourself, yeah, but if I do all this other stuff, then I'll gain even more. Not really. You should save those things for when you're sort of plateaued, for when you really need them, because then you'll be able to push your body to that next stage, okay? So, because you're going to grow regardless, you should absolutely just focus on strict form. That's the other thing. This guy's talking about all this, his formy shit, right? Don't be that guy. So, just focus on strict form and how to actually train each muscle. There are people that go to gym for years that don't actually train their back properly, still, because they didn't take the time to build a solid foundation. So learn how to squat properly, learn how to train back. These things take time. But like I said, you're going to grow regardless. So you might as well spend the time to learn proper form. How do you learn? Watch a million YouTube videos on it. Like if you want to learn to squat, watch 5, like this is how I learn stuff now. Watch 5 YouTube videos on it and then go and do the thing. And you, after like 10 tries, you'll be good. If you can, go to the gym at least some of the time with someone more experienced who can show you these things. If you don't have someone more experienced who can show you, then you just have to go with YouTube. Like literally be in the gym, have the YouTube video on and like copy what the guy does. Like do it. No one cares. No, I've done that several times at the gym. No one cares. Like literally have the video and like learn. And then if you're lucky, you might get some guy who will help you a bit. Okay? Learn proper form. Don't get embarrassed. No one gives a shit. Like I said, at the start, keep strict form. Now, you don't need... This is where a lot of people debate about whether your form should be super strict or not. To simplify it, at the start, you should absolutely have strict form. So that way you learn strict form and how to actually train your muscles. And then, like a year or so into your journey, which I mentioned in part 2, is when you should be more lenient with your form because you really need to push your muscles, right? But if you push your muscles at the start before you've developed the muscle memory to actually have good form, then you're going to have terrible form. So like I said, keep strict form. Now that's training. With, and just finally as well with the training stuff, it literally doesn't matter which split you do, none of that matters. Just try one thing and stick to it for like 8-12 weeks, and then if you want to try something else, try something else. It doesn't matter. Just try what you like. Now with your diet at the start, first year, just eat enough protein. Like, I have this theory, and it makes a lot of sense. If you just start going gym and change nothing about your diet, you will gain huge amounts of muscle, even if you don't even worry about how much protein you have, right? So at the start, don't worry about, should I cut, should I bulk, blah, 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 blah. You're fucking skinny. Just eat enough protein, and your body will go through so much muscle transformation. As long as you stay consistent and keep going, you will gain so much muscle at the start that none of that shit matters. Don't worry about it. Because prove that you can actually go and commit to something for a year before you get all fancy with all the little things you need, blah, 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 blah. Just actually fucking go every day for a year. Go 4 times a week, 5 times a week, every day for a year. And then you have the right to worry about all these little things if needed. Because people start something new, then they get all excited and get all the little gadgets or little things they need, but they're not actually committed to the thing itself, right? So commit first and then worry about, should I have creatine, should I have this, should I have that, blah, 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 right? But with diet, like I said, in saying that, you should worry about how much protein that you have, because it's a major factor for muscle protein synthesis, is that you've actually taken in enough protein over that 24-hour period or whatever, right? So there are 1,000 ways to calculate how much protein you need, because the amount of protein you need is this arbitrary number that, like, it's a range, Okay, so what happens is, to make things simpler for the consumer or for the gym goer, we make these equations that tell you how much you need. And then people argue about, no, use this equation, use that equation. It's a range. It doesn't actually matter. Okay, but the point of the equation is to make it as simple as possible for the gym goer to achieve that range without having to think, whilst requiring as little brain power and attention as possible. Okay, so the equation you should use, which you can find many, but this is the one that I use, is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Again, you might have seen online someone say you should have 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. It literally doesn't fucking matter, especially at the start. You could literally do cartwheels with the dumbbells and eat fucking candy canes every day and you'll still gain muscle. But like I said, the one thing you should worry about is the amount of protein that you have, because scientifically you should worry about that. So weigh yourself and then Google search X weight. If you're 60 kilos or if you're 55 kilos, search 55 kilos in pounds. The number that you get, that's how many grams of protein that you need. Now that sounds random as fuck, that's like the measurement, but it's just, what happened is that you need like XYZ amount. Scientists or people in the fitness space figured out easy, simple equations that are seemingly unrelated to each other that just get you to that XYZ amount in a simple fashion. Okay, so like I said, weigh yourself, Google search your weight in kilos, Google search that weight in pounds. That number you get is how many grams. So if it says 160 pounds, then you need 160 grams of protein every day. Okay, cool. How do you get 160 grams of protein every day? Download MyFitnessPal and track your food. Now, you don't need to worry about your macros and your calories all that much at this stage. Like I said, you literally gain muscle by doing cartwheels. But just generally use MyFitnessPal to track your protein, right? Track your... So that way you learn how much protein is in like chicken, how much protein is in all these different foods, and you start to learn about food properly. So yeah, try to get enough protein and just go to gym consistently and you'll gain so much muscle at the start, it's not funny. So to recap, as long as you go, you'll grow. Keep it simple. Don't do all the fancy shit yet. Just prove that you can actually go to the gym consistently. Get that respect from yourself before you worry about all the fancy little things. Focus on form, build a solid foundation, and with your diet, eat enough protein. Pardon me. Don't overcomplicate it. That's part 1. Okay, this is part 2. Around the 1 year mark, ramp it up. Ramp up your training and ramp up your eating. And I say 1 year, it's really once you feel like the newbie gains are finished, which is maybe 9 months in or whatever. Now, in my opinion, bro, listen, yeah? You should treat yourself like an athlete. Because why not? Think about this for a second. Stay with me. Think about this for a second. There's no reason not to. There's no reason not to treat your gym hobby and your body, treat it as seriously as you possibly can. There's no reason not to. There's endless upside and there's no downside. I'm telling you now, okay? Because the more you focus on gym and the more seriously that you take it, the more mentally focused you'll be, the more mentally healthy you'll be, the better your body will look, the more healthy your body will be. You'll learn more about yourself and you'll grow mentally and physically as a man. You'll look 10 times better, you'll feel 10 times better. People will start to notice and compliment you. You'll feel more disciplined. You'll love and feel proud of yourself more. You'll prove to yourself that you can do things that before you thought you couldn't do. And with all that said, you might think to yourself, yeah, but I don't want to be a gym junkie. Like, you might think, yeah, but I don't want to be like that guy, be perceived as a gym junkie. Now, what does that actually mean? Okay? What you're saying is you don't want people to label you as something negative. Because when does a term like that be used. Like if you say, yeah, but I don't want people to think of me as a gym junkie, right? Like look at my body when I think like that. Like, okay, let's say I've started going gym and I've taken it super seriously, and I'm like a year in, and I started taking it super seriously, and now like I'm making more gains, and I look super good, and I'm going every day, blah 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 blah. And then I see people that I know, and they like start to notice, and I'm talking about, yeah, I've been going every day at 5 a.m. or whatever, yeah. And like most people are like, wow, that's really cool, man, bro, well done. And then one guy says, this hasn't happened to me, but this is like I think it's a good story to illustrate. One guy says, what are you, a gym junkie now? And looks at you like that. Like, what are you, fucking gym junkie now, bro? Right? What is that guy actually saying? What he's saying is that he perceived you as someone who doesn't go to the gym that much, and now you go to the gym that much. So he's giving you a new identity, and he's painting that in a negative light. But the reality is you can paint anything in a negative light. Like, for example, me having a YouTube channel, you could paint it in a negative light. You can say, this guy just wants to fucking talk all day and doesn't shut the fuck up and wants attention, right? That's one way you could paint it. Or you could paint it that I'm taking the time out of my day to give people value on the internet who I don't know for the sake of that, for the sake of it, hoping that someone who might need it hears it, and hoping that they can take the small amount of knowledge that I have on a few niche subjects and use that knowledge that I've summarized for them to succeed way faster than I was able to, because I had to spend the time learning those things that weren't summarized, that were scattered around the place, right? There's two different ways to paint the same picture, right? So like someone calling you, hey, what bro, you're a fucking gym junkie, right? That's just them painting your change and growth as a person in a negative way. You may be afraid to commit to something fully because it means a change in your identity. Now, you may like that change in identity, but it means the people around you that you know, and your family members, everyone around you that you know, might not like your change in identity. Yo, bro, I'm just watching over my own footage right now, and I want to add one more thing here, which is, you know the guy that says, what are you, a gym junkie now? What he's also implying is that change is bad. Because what he's saying is, he's saying, I know you. You're not like this. Why are you acting like this now? Right? Because people can witness you change, and a lot of people will point out that you've changed and paint it as a negative thing. I'll give you an example. Even my own sister, the other day, she saw this office space that I've made, and she said that I was having an eat, pray, love moment. I won't explain what that means, but what she's saying is that she's witnessing me change and grow, and she's painting like personal growth in a negative light, saying that like, no, you're just acting like this. This isn't who you are. I know you, and you're like this. Okay, so what the gym junkie guy is saying is, bro, I know you, you're not like this. Don't change, stay who you are. Stop trying to be someone you're not. Because think about it, when you hear that guy say, what are you, a gym junkie now? Like, what he's saying is that, what he's implying is that you're faking who you are, which you're not. You're just actually growing and changing. So I just wanted to really point out that part of that concept. So I just wanted to add that. You're going to go back to the old me from 30 minutes ago now. So thank you. Cool. One of my uncles, I was like 2 years in, and I squatted 100 kilos for one rep. Yeah, and I put it on Facebook. I was super happy, blah, blah, blah. Like someone recorded it. It was mad, yeah? And like everyone on Facebook saw, and everyone was impressed, blah, blah, blah. And then like one of my uncles said, don't do that again. Like never do that again. And I was like 17, 16. I was like, why? And he's like, because you hurt your back. Like, just shut the fuck up, bro. Right? So, what I'm getting at is, you should absolutely succeed in every possible endeavor that you would take 100%, right? But a reason why people are scared to do that isn't necessarily that they're scared for themselves. They want the benefits, but they're scared of the social interactions that come with that. They're scared of the people are going to perceive them differently. And you should recognize in those moments that those people that make those comments don't actually want the best for you. They want you to fit in their box of what they've painted you as, and they don't like when you change. So, I went on a big tangent, but back to the point is that you should absolutely take gym 150% seriously. There's no downside. Another thing you might think when you hear that is, I'm too busy, I don't have the time. You literally have the time. There's nothing stopping you. I worked 12 hours a day, okay, for 4 years. And after the third year, like I used that as a crutch. I was like, I work 12 hours a day. I can't take gym too seriously, right? And I used that, like I was literally getting home and going on my phone for 3 hours a night, doing nothing, right? So, and then after 3 years, in the last year of working 12 hours a day, blah, 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 I started taking gym super seriously. And I was super jacked. I felt super strong mentally. I felt like a fucking warrior. I felt like a fucking beast. And everyone around me started noticing and started seeing my growth. And it was 95% of people were super happy about it, right? Now, like I said, there was no downside. Like I was literally waking up at 4:30 in the morning. 4 in the morning. I think it was 4. I think it was 4 in the morning. And I can tell you now, looking back at that experience, there was absolutely no downside to it. So I would 100% recommend taking gym as seriously as possible. The other thing is, after a year or so, when you're 1 to 3 years into your journey, is you don't actually know how hard you can train. And you need to push yourself to find those limits. Most people at the gym train at like 60% capacity. They honestly do, right? Like, when you know you've trained to capacity is when you're pushing the weight and you've done 3 or 4 reps where the rep is slow like this, yeah? If you haven't gotten to that stage where the rep is slow, or you get near that, then you stop, you're not training, in my opinion, nearly as hard enough. Now, one more thing is when you have to recruit all the muscles in your body to push the weight up, that's when you know that you're close to failure. If you do a few reps where the weight's moving slow and you've had to literally tense your calf and your quad muscles to push your arms, that's when you know you're close to your max. Let me tell you something from my experience is that I wasted 2 years in the gym because I heard some guy on a Joe Rogan podcast say you should only train at 70% capacity. And he explained this roundabout logic as to why, because you won't get injured and you'll train more often. He's like, you'll train more often than people that train at 100% capacity. Now, that might sound logical, but I'm promising you it's wrong. Because the most important thing, if your goal is building muscle, is that you need to force your muscles to do more. Gym is simple. You do things with your body that you couldn't do before, and then your body reacts and makes itself bigger to get better at doing those things that you couldn't do before that you're now doing. Another way of saying that is you push your muscles to do more so they grow in reaction to it. That way they're better at doing more and capable of doing more. It's literally just your body adapting to the things that you're making it do. Okay? So with that being said, you have to make your body do more in order to grow. That is a 100% fact. Okay? And the reason why I didn't talk about this for if you're just starting is because your body spends like 3 to 6 months reacting to the change, just the fact that you're going to the gym. So it doesn't fucking matter. But anyways, so now this is called, there's a term for this, which is progressive overload. It literally just means doing more over time. Okay? There's progressive overload, RPE, and your number of reps. Now your RPE is more important than your number of reps. I'll explain what all these terms mean. Progressive overload, like I said, is just doing more than before. So over a period of time, let's say it's 6 weeks. From the first week to the 6th week, on the 6th week, you did more than the first week. Okay? Because sometimes you can't always increase week on week, but over a period of time, you've now successfully pushed more weight or more reps or more sets on the 6th week than the 1st week, okay? So that's progressive overload. Now you can progressively overload with your weight, with your number of sets or your number of reps. You can also, there are little ways you can progressively overload, which I don't recommend, which are like reducing your time between sets and things like that. I think that there are much simpler ways to go about it that give you a higher ROI. Okay? Now, with this in mind, with progressive overload in mind, in my opinion, it's much more important to worry about your RPE than your number of reps. Your RPE is your rate of perceived exertion. Now, in the fitness world, this is as a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, so if the set I just did was an RPE 10, it means that it was my absolute maximum, and I was basically at failure. I could not do another rep. I was at failure. So 9 means that I had maybe 1 rep more in me left. That's like an RPE 9. Okay, and then RPE 8 means like maybe I had maybe 2 reps more in me. Okay, so regardless of the amount of actual reps you did, RPE is your rate of perceived exertion. How hard that set was. Whether it was a set of 6, set of 4, set of 6, set of 4, or a set of 12 or whatever. The rate of perceived exertion is basically how many reps you had left. Okay, now, so progressively overloading by worrying about your RPE more than the number of reps you did. What I'm trying to get at here is I see so many guys who are so caught up in making sure that they do 4 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 12 or whatever, because they think that the number of reps and sets that they do will stimulate their muscles enough so that they actually grow. Don't get caught up in doing the exact number of reps and sets that you need, because then you won't focus on actually improving. Let me show you a visual example, okay? So this guy in the first example is just worried about making sure that he gets his, he's doing 4 sets of 8 for 16 kilos, okay? So this is session 1, and this is session 2, and session 3. And because each week, when he does this set, when he does this exercise, so this is like 16 kilos, by the way, just in case you're not sure, 16 kilos by 4 sets of 8, all right? So he's so scared to not do his 4 sets of 8 that he never tries a higher weight because he knows he won't get 8 reps. I literally know guys who were doing this, and I hope they're not now. I hope they listen to me. The point is, what do you think is better? Okay, so you started at week 1 and then you finished at week 9 with the same, okay? Or session 1, 16 kilos, 4 sets, 8 reps. Next week, 18 kilos, 2 sets, 4 reps. Only 4 reps. He only did 4 reps. How's he gonna grow? He didn't do enough reps to stimulate his muscles. Blah, 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 blah. Bear with me, okay? And he did 16 times 2 sets times 8. Next week, he did 18 times 2 times 6. So last time he did 4 reps. Now he was able to do 6 reps for those 2 sets of 18. And he did his 16 times 2 times 8. Next week, now we can hit 18 times 2 times 8. He's improving. Yeah? He's actually doing 8 reps. And he also, because he was super tired after those 2 sets, he did 18 times 2 times 4 for the next, for the remaining 2 sets. And it keeps going, right? And then eventually he gets to a point where on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on the 6th week, he was able to go 18 kilos for 4 sets times 8 after 6 weeks. And then on the 7th week, he did it again. He goes, all right, now I'm going to go 20. 20 kilos times 2 sets times 4, right? Now, that's the 7th week. The amount of overload here is so much greater than what this guy got to on like the 9th week, because he was doing the same shit and his muscles got used to it, okay? So, don't get so concerned about making sure you hit the number of sets and number of reps. Rather, be concerned about making sure you're doing more and forcing your muscles to do more. This is something that took me a long time to learn, and now that I have this mindset, I gain a lot more muscle a lot faster. So I believe it's very valuable for you to take on this mindset. Now, like I mentioned, there are many ways to progressively overload, and you can choose which method you like best. I personally like this method, and it makes it very simple for me to constantly improve without having to think too hard. To pick a rep range. So for me personally, I like 4 to 8. Or you could do 8 to 12. Or you could do 12 to 15, right? So I've chosen for this, in this example, let's say it's incline dumbbell bench or whatever, right? So I've chosen this rep range, okay? So once I get a certain weight and I can hit 8 reps, I try a new weight. I try a new weight that I think I can do for at least 4. So I stay within this rep range and constantly try a new weight. I'm at 4 reps the first week, and then I'm at 6 reps, then I'm at 8, and then I try a new weight, blah, 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 blah. So rather than worrying about making sure I did 12 reps, that's not what is going to make your muscles do more, because that's doing the same as you did last week. Okay? You with me? Cool. Alright, bro, where am I at? The more experience you have, the more capacity you develop for higher RPE sessions more often. Okay? So, for example, if you're a year or 2 years in, you might be able to hit RPE 10 or 9, and then you might need to recover for a few days before you can go again. Alright? But once you rack up years and years and years of experience in the gym, you find that a lot of the time you find that you can hit like RPE 10 or RPE 9, and then personally I find like 4 days later I can hit it again, like RPE 9 or 10, I can hit it again. So I think that as you rack up more years in the gym, you have I think your body gets better at recovery. That might be it. Your body gets better at recovery, so then you can hit higher RPEs more often. The other advice is like try different training styles. Try like vastly different and stick with them for like 6 weeks or 8 week programs or whatever. Like bodybuilding, strength, power building, they call it, low rep, high rep. Just see what you enjoy, because even though scientifically there might be one exact thing you can do that will give you the highest ROI, if you actually enjoy your training, you will go more, you'll be more consistent, you'll stay longer in the gym, and you'll do more, you'll push harder, which means that even though scientifically you could do more if you did this way, because you enjoy this way more, you're absolutely going to get have more gains because of it, because you're actually enjoying what you're doing. So what you enjoy is more important than the 0.5% benefits you get from the absolute optimal scientific formula method that you choose. Okay, so it's more important that you enjoy it more. So recap, training after the first year or so is train fucking hard, progressively overload, and pick a rep range. That's just my advice. That's some philosophies in the gym that have really served me well. So hopefully it serves you well too. With diet, once again, number one thing is eat enough protein, which we discussed in part 1. Bulk 90% of the year and maybe cut for like 10% of the year. Okay? You are skinny. You need to grow. You need to bulk. Okay? You don't need to keep your abs all year round. Like, if your skinny abs start to stop showing, that's good. That means you're actually gaining weight, which is a good thing. Okay? And you can't spend a lot of the year cut and lean or trying to stay lean, because then you'll never grow. If you can shift your mindset to think that I want to be super jacked in 5 years' time, rather than I want to be super lean and jacked now, like the capacity of how jacked you can get now is a limited capacity. But if you think on a long time frame, then you'll spend most of your time bulking, because you'll realize that in order to get like that, you need to spend a long time bulking to actually gain the muscle to look like this. You'll have a better body long term, rather than just short term trying to look jacked and having little muscle. The point is to become jacked and be big, right? Not just to be lean now. You get me? Cool. In saying this, in my personal opinion, it's beneficial to cut like once a year, like have a proper, real good cut once a year. One, because you learn how to cut, because a lot of people don't know how to cut. And also it trims excess fat, because like, even though you should constantly bulk, like every now and then you want to lose that fat and go again, right? But like I said, 90% of the year, bulk. Now, I mentioned a lot of motherfuckers cannot cut. Why can't they cut? In my opinion, I think it's because they're addicted to junk food. Okay? So, you should track your macros, which if you don't know what macros are, I'll explain in a moment. But don't get addicted to junk food. Now, this is a common trend in the fitness space, especially online, is to preach that you can eat donuts every day and also look jacked, which you can do. You can, okay? But I don't recommend it. I don't recommend subscribing to that philosophy, because it's bad for your insides, first of all. So you can look jacked and eat donuts every day, but you'll have visceral fat around your internal organs. That's very serious, yeah? You shouldn't have fat around your organ. Your organs are what make you alive, okay? So, yeah, you could look jacked and eat donuts every day, but you'll have visceral fat around your organs, and in 30 years, you might get heart disease, okay? So be careful, be hesitant to subscribe to that philosophy and to go ham with that, okay? I'm gonna take a step back for a moment. To calculate your macros and figure out how to bulk is to search up calorie counter, the first link, go on there, enter your information, and then it will tell you what your calorie maintenance is how many calories you need to eat every day to actually gain weight and gain muscle. Okay? Now that's an estimate. You're a skinny guy, so it's probably more than that. Okay? So what I don't want to hear is people say, bro, I've been bulking and I just can't grow. I just have a high metabolism, a fast metabolism. I just can't grow, bro. It's just impossible. It just doesn't matter how much I eat. I can't gain weight. Like, bro, did you like defy the laws of physics? No, right? So, a calorie is a unit of energy. So, a calorie is how much energy a piece of food has given me. So after my body digests the food, how much energy my body has extracted from that food. Okay? Now, fat gives you 9 calories per gram. Carbs give you 4 calories per gram, and protein also gives you 4 calories per gram. So fat is more calorie dense than carbs and protein. Okay? Now, what happens is, you need to find your calories by searching that calorie counter, and then you need to manually adjust. So once you get your calories, you'll be given, on MyFitnessPal, you'll be given your protein, fats, and carbs. So the calories will be split up into these 3 metrics, which added up together, because you had, let's say you had 50 grams of carbs and you had 80 grams of fat, you had 50 grams of fat and you had 100 grams of carbs and you had 160 grams of protein, which is just random numbers. Do not follow that diet. That's a terrible diet. That added up together, and it will be like that times 9, that times 4, that times 4. That will be the amount of calories you intook or you intaked that day. Okay? So, what you need to do, because you know the manual amount of protein you need, which MyFitnessPal doesn't know, you need to manually adjust the amount of protein so that it matches your protein requirements, okay? Because the protein that you get will just be a random ratio of the amount of calories, but you know that you manually need to adjust the protein intake so that it matches your requirement of 1 gram per pound of body weight. And then the remaining amount of fat and carb you need to reach your calories, you can just have whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Okay, that doesn't matter how much fat or carb, doesn't matter. Okay, in terms of bodybuilding, doesn't matter. Now, in saying this, because if you're a skinny guy, bro, so if you're actually a skinny guy, bro, and you're just trying to bulk 90% of the year, you don't need to get too caught up in this. All you need to do is eat as much as possible and make sure you eat enough protein. But I would recommend that you, for a period of time, you actually track your macros, because then you'll learn what's in food. You'll learn what's in food. You'll learn what your real calorie maintenance is, because the calorie counter you search is going to give you a number, right? But you'll learn over time what your calorie maintenance is, because you'll know when you start actually gaining weight. So try a certain calorie amount, try to eat that amount every day, and then after a week or two, see if you've gained weight. If you haven't, up the calorie amount and keep upping the calorie amount until you gain weight, okay? And then you will know at that point, that is my calorie maintenance. Because you're a skinny guy, you defy the general science sometimes, and your calorie maintenance is like sometimes really high, even though you're a skinny fuck, right? So that's why you need to find your own calorie maintenance, because some idiots, they search the calorie counter, they see the one that's to bulk, the amount they think they need to bulk, and then they do that, and they don't grow, and they go, bro, it doesn't work for me. Bro, it doesn't work. But it's because their calorie maintenance is so high, because their metabolism is so fast, that they actually need to eat even more. Alright, so hopefully you understand the gist of this, okay? Now, in saying all of this, after a period of time where you've learned what's in food, because spending the time to do this makes you learn what's in food, okay? That's why it's really beneficial. After a period of time, you don't need to track so much, because you're just trying to bulk. You just need to eat as much as possible and make sure you have enough protein. All you really need to track is how much protein you had. The rest is like, just eat more. Just eat more. Also, don't have Diet Coke, because yeah, it's 0 calories, but it's not good for your insides and not good for your mental state. Food doesn't just affect all of this. Food affects your hormones and your brain. So what happens is people learn these calculations and then they manipulate it so they can fit 3 donuts in their day, which you can do that if you want, especially if you're bulking, but I don't recommend it, because it's not good for you. It's not good for your insides, not good for your brain. And once you get used to eating shit all the time, it becomes an addiction. It really does. So, summary, if you're 1 to 3 years into your fitness journey at the gym and you're a skinny guy, you need to train harder, learn RPE, learn progressive overload, and stick to that philosophy. Pick a rep range and progressively overload with that rep range. Eat enough protein, bulk 90% of the year. Learn what your calorie maintenance is, because yours is probably different than it's probably higher than what the calorie counter suggests. So learn what your calorie maintenance is and eat more than that consistently. Don't eat like a pig or you'll get heart disease in 40 years. And don't drink Diet Coke, in my opinion. Okay? So, the final quick summary is 0 to 1 years. Keep it simple. Have strict form. Eat enough protein. That's literally it. Learn the form, eat enough protein. You're going to gain so much muscle, it's not funny. I promise you, nothing else matters. 1 to 3 years in my opinion, you would absolutely benefit from adopting an athlete's mindset. There's no downside to doing that. Okay? So I would recommend doing that. Train really hard. Learn your macros. Learn what's in food. Bulk 90% of the time. Because long term, you'll become jacked. If you stay really lean all year, you'll never get to that next phase you want to get to. Okay? Don't get addicted to donuts and Diet Coke. Because this is what I've learned over 7 years of going to the gym and doing hypertrophy training. So I hope that you're able to learn from my summarized lessons and the summarized knowledge that I'm able to give to you. I hope that it makes you progress faster than I did. That's the point. The point is, if you watch this video, then you will progress in the gym faster than I did. So after 7 years, you will look bigger than I do. That's the point, because you have learned the lessons that I took me years to learn. You have learned them at the start. So that way, if you do everything else, if you just commit for 7 years, you'll look bigger than me because you learned the lessons that took me years to learn. So then you have much faster progress. Because some of these lessons took years away from my training. Genuinely. Like if I had learned some of these, if I had learned to train really hard, if I had adopted an athlete mindset, things like that, like 2 years earlier, then I'd look way bigger right now. Yeah? So, yeah, that's the point of why I've made this, so that way you can learn faster than I do. Thanks, bro, and have a good week, yeah? Cheers.